Hi folks, it's Andy. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Welcome to the first Kendo rant of 2025. I hope you had a fantastic holiday season and a happy new year as well. We've got plenty of stuff planned for 2025. We've got some great questions today as well. We're going to jump to them in just a second. Before we do, said it all throughout last year and we're going to carry on the mission this year. Let's grow the Kendo population by liking, sharing and subscribing to this channel. Leave a comment using the word Kendo. This is a great Kendo channel. What a great Kendo video. Best Kendo video ever. Something like that. And the YouTube Ninja Robots will go out there and get people to start Kendo. Okay, we got 263,400 trillion people starting Kendo last year just by doing that. Okay, and I think we can double that this year. Okay, so make sure you do that. But most importantly, if you like the channel, if you like the videos that I'm making like this, question and answer style videos that we do on Kendo Rant. We do feedback videos. One came out yesterday. Do analysis videos. Had one of those recently, and do instructional videos as well. I've got some more of those coming very, very soon. And it's all free. There's no subscription, no memberships, no paying for subtitles, nothing like that. All you have to do, and here's a real win-win, is shop at KendoStar.com. Now, KendoStar.com is the best Kendo equipment website in the history and future of the galaxy and the human race. Now, of course, I would say that because I own the place, but everyone agrees with us, all right? We're an established brand, especially for the international market. Full team of staff. We're not operating out of our bedrooms or garage or anything like that. Okay, we're an established company with a full team of staff ready to provide you with the best equipment and the best possible service. Okay, don't buy twice. Buy right first time round and shop at KendoStar.com. Okay, now let's get to these questions. We've got quite a few. It's been a couple of weeks since I did a show, so let's jump to them right away. Throughout the years, I've noticed that when it comes to keiko and shinai, I've observed through videos and also what others have told me from practicing with me that I play more of a machigai or waiting game. I think you mean machiken is the most sort of popular way of saying that anyway, like waiting game, yeah. Machiken is a more popular way of saying that. Waiting for my opponent to come to me and then reacting to them accordingly when I know I should be bringing it to them and pressuring them, not vice versa. I say this with the awareness of knowing that in 2 years' time I'll be eligible for challenging a high grade where it's kind of where this kind of Kendo and the reason behind everything I do should be transparent to see. What's the best way of changing this and altering my way of Kendo so that it's me pressuring them and making them react to me as opposed to the other way around? Is it more of a mental aspect or a physical aspect? Good question. So what you're describing here is very, very common. All right. You know, a lot of us will get to a stage where you're about to, present perhaps a sort of high level exam. And yeah, you're getting good at a variety of waza, you're able to apply a variety of waza. But the thing is when it comes to these high-level exams, it's not about whether you can do the waza or not, it's whether you can create the waza or not. Okay, so what that means is you can't wait for it to happen. You have to make it happen, right? And that doesn't mean that you have to necessarily, I'm not sure if it's right to say bringing it to them, because it doesn't mean you go in there and necessarily have to attack. You have to get them to attack when you want them to attack. Is the best, right? So that you can do the ojiwaza or the debana, right? That's the best. So how can you do it? Well, essentially, right, I think what the problem is that lots of people misunderstand this word pressure that you've used. All right, pressuring them, and you've used it in a standard sense. Don't get me wrong, but lots of people say, "Oh, you have to apply pressure," and it's like, what does that actually mean? What does that actually mean? Okay, what does it mean to apply pressure? Okay, well, what it means is you have to make them think they're going to get hit. Okay, all right. So essentially, the way to do Seme is make them think they're going to get hit. Okay. That's the key, really. You have to be perceived as a credible threat, and that if they don't react to you, they're going to get hit, okay? And the result of that will be some kind of reaction from them, all right? They tend to have 3, all right? There's 4, actually, all right? There's 4. The rarest one, but often can happen, not often, but can happen, is like they sort of freeze, or itsuku, okay, the itsuku tokuro, where they kind of, you know, kind of thing. More common ones are they attack you, they try to block, or they step back, or they try to do a combination of blocking and step back. Now, someone that's got experience, they might adjust the distance forward as they try to block. But essentially, they'll try to defend themselves either by blocking or changing the distance, or both. They'll attack or they'll not respond. Okay. So the key to that is, and that's the DI really, is you making them think that they have to respond in that way. All right. So you have to make them think you're going to hit them. And if you don't, you know, if they don't react, they're going to get hit. Okay. So that means that the game is now being played in your timing, right? So it's not, okay, I'm going to do the kaishido. When they come for me, I'm going to do kaishido. And then in their timing, they hit the men, and you go bam, bam, kaishido, like that. Okay. You're going to struggle with that at the high level grading. What it is like, I'm coming for your men. I'm coming to hit you. I'm going to get you. I'm coming to get you. I'm coming to get you. Yeah, come on then. What are you going to do about it? Come on. And they're like, they have to do something. Okay. They feel this, I have to do something. Okay. Or they're going to hit me. All right. So they're either going to block, in which case you're going to hit them because they can't block everywhere at once. Or they're going to hit. And that's when you're going to do your waza. All right. And then the sub level to that is controlling which of those choices that they make. All right. That's even harder, but it is a thing, right? So there's subtle ways of doing it. So whether the way that you approach them, the way you use your shinai, for example, is one. This is one way. The other way, of course, is there's other ways where you can let them feel like they have the chance to hit as well. All I'm saying is what I'm describing here is what I think a lot of people refer to as pressure, when it's what lots of people do is they'll stand there like not really, there's no pressure. They just kind of stood there going, oh, we're doing pressure. Well, they're not. For me, that's what the pressure is like, okay, I'm coming to hit you. So what are you going to do about it? Right. And then the other way, of course, is from that position, letting them think that there's a chance for them to hit. Okay. So letting them think. Now, that's a really difficult one, because what you have to be really careful of is that does look like the kind of machi kendo. So for now, I'd focus on the other one, which is being more aggressive with the seme in the approach. Come on then, what you got for me? Yeah. And that's how you create these chances to make the waza. Okay. It's easy to say, very difficult to do. Okay. Okie dokie, next one. Hi, Andy. Some of your remarks near the end remind me of a question I've been wondering about. Okay, so this is from not yesterday's, but last week's feedback video. Do you think there's such a thing as an examination etiquette outside of the standard bowing and day? I mean, spoken rules, how you're supposed to behave during a shinsa. I know you're no fan of saying some waza are out, but are there certain faux pas that are not bad kendo, but perhaps unkind or unwise during shinsa towards your opponent or partner? Is there a danger in over considering your opponent's shinsa during your own? Overall, great kendo video. Love the content, especially the focus on feedback lately. Greatly appreciate your recent video on what to focus on for each grade. Follow up on how to prepare for each level, maybe. Okay. Specific waza exercise to get better at grade specific criteria as per general guideline. That's a good idea. So this was a question that was posted on the feedback video. I think there is a possible danger of over considering your opponent's shinsa during your own, but I don't think that should happen if you are locked into doing what you're supposed to do in the shinsa. In terms of like unspoken rules or sort of examination etiquette, I don't know really. Yeah, I guess so. I think what I'll probably say is like, there are some stuff. Now, as I said very clearly, I don't agree with the kind of approach to grading of don't do this or you'll fail, or don't do that or don't do this. Because I don't think that's how grading should be assessed. It should be, did they do this or not? Not did they do this positive thing? Not did they do this negative thing? Is how I think it should be. Having said that, like, what you have to think about, and I'm not sure if it's like an etiquette thing really, but obviously you have to be, and this isn't really just for gradings, it's for in general, safety has to always be considered, all right? Even shinai, all right? Even at the highest level of shinai, those shinai can be very aggressive and very spirited. But for example, if you consider something like the All Japan Championships finals, or even the All Japan Police Championships finals, that's a little bit different. Let's park that. But the All Japan Championships finals, that's a very, very prestigious tournament, arguably the highest possible level of Kendo tournament. There's still a mutual unspoken acceptance of responsibility for each other's safety. Okay, so people don't just go completely white and go mental, smashing people's elbows with gyakudo and stuff like that, like you can often see at lower levels. Okay, and that obviously applies for grading as well. But also, I'd say the stuff that, like, I think if you start, I don't agree massively with the concept of, oh, this is grading Kendo and this is shinai Kendo, but I do accept and believe that there are different strategies to be applied to each situation, because the purpose and the goal of each is different. The purpose of shinai, the purpose of shinsa are totally different. Okay, so they should be approached with different strategy. Okay, the goal of shinai is to try your hardest to win, not at all costs. Okay, as I've just mentioned about the mutual understanding for each other's safety, for example, not at the sake of breaking rules and stuff like that. Yeah, but you have to try your hardest to win. Okay, because that's what it is. It's a shoba. It's about victory and defeat. That's how you fairly test the other person. That's what shinai is. Shinsai is about what you can demonstrate to a panel of examiners as to your understanding of key Kendo concepts that are applicable to each level. Okay, so I don't think there's any aspect of I don't think there's any level where there are, for example, so I don't think there's any level where a technique, let's say like kuzushite hikimen or kuzushite hikido, is like going to benefit you in a grading scenario. Okay, so kuzushite hikiwaza, for example, is where you're at tsubazeriai and momentarily use the shinai to push on the opponent's neck to push them off balance and create the chance for a strike. It's probably, I'm not saying you shouldn't do it or you should fail if you do that. I'm not saying that at all, because I don't think that. What I'm saying is I don't know if there's a level, I don't think there's a level where that demonstrates what's needed for the criteria to pass, for the most part. Which is why you don't see a lot of hikiwaza at gradings. And it's not that hikiwaza is wrong or shouldn't be done at a grading. It's not that at all. It's just that by the sort of the nature of a grading scenario, the opportunity for hikiwaza doesn't come up that much. Okay? Because you don't end up in tsubazeriai so much, because it's not about victory and defeat. It's about whether you can demonstrate your ability to execute certain techniques in line with certain principles. You tend not to play defensive Okay, and it's from sort of defensive positions that you end up in subsidiary often, and it's harder to demonstrate the interactions that you need to demonstrate from subsidiary, to be fair. But it's not, I think, and I'm sort of saying that specifically in higher graded context. Think at like Nidan Sandan, if you can demonstrate Hikiwaza, I think is a good thing. Having said that, all right, but I don't think you need to demonstrate stuff like Kuzushiwaza and stuff like that necessarily. But again, having said that, I'd probably walk back on that a little bit from grades like Sandan. If somebody pulled off a really good like Kuzushita Hikido or something in the middle of a Sandan Shinsa, I'd think that was good. So fair enough. So yeah. But yeah, I think if you've got to be careful, because you're not careful. I mean, you don't want to. I think when you talk about over considering your opponent's shinsa, I think that's a possible thing as well, because people often blame their opponent for the reason they're unsuccessful at gradings. But it's never the opponent's fault, to be honest. Okay, never. I'll never say never. It's very rarely the opponent's fault that you would fail at grading. Okay. I think people often get stuck at 4th and 5th dan because they struggle to deal with an opponent that's not doing what they expect them to do. And that's what separates a 3rd dan from a 4th dan, and definitely a 4th dan from a 5th dan, is being able to deal with an opponent that's not necessarily doing exactly what you want them to do. If that makes sense. All right. So yeah, I don't know if there's a particular like unspoken rule, especially in terms of etiquette, but if you're gonna, if you're gonna do stuff like just spend half the time just like defending like this and trying to get to like you would in a shinai, it's kind of gone. What you're kind of doing is spoiling the other person's chance to demonstrate what they're trying to demonstrate, but you will be trying to demonstrate it too. So I mean, I don't think so. I don't think so. I can't think of anything particularly. A little bit of an interesting journey I went on with that answer. So yeah, I hope it was cohesive. I know it was a little bit of a ramble. Hi Andy, thanks for the fun video on making Kendo the most popular sport in the galaxy. Yes. I have a Bogu question. My men, unknown brand, fits really well on my rather big head, but the men that it feels too wide and my arms sometimes get caught in them when doing big cuts. They are wider than my quite average shoulder width. When buying a men and the men that are made bigger, are the men that are made bigger if you have a large head measurements? How do I find out if the men that are a good fit for me? So as a when you say wide, I think you mean the length of it, so it's coming past your shoulders here. So there's two things. One, if you're getting your arms stuck in it, probably the way you swing the shinai is not brilliant, because you're probably opening your elbows out, which is letting you catch them against your mendare. If you keep your armpits closed when you swing the shinai, then even if the mendare are quite long, they shouldn't catch. They might get in the way a bit, but they shouldn't like catch against it. Do you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, as a general rule, like stock men, yeah, the bigger sizes can tend to have a slightly longer mendare, but we're talking 1 centimeter, like 1 centimeter. Pretty sure ours don't actually. Ours are generally around 20 centimeters for all sizes, except the smaller sizes. Smaller sizes tend to be a little bit smaller, but the bigger sizes tend to stick to about 20 centimeters in our thing. But I know there are other companies that might do differently. The length that's right for you, I mean, 20 centimeters is pretty much fine for most people, especially men of sort of average build. And you can get away with 19, you could get away with 21 if you needed to. But if you were getting something custom made, then it would be made to your measurements, to be honest. So it would depend. But most people are around 19 or 20. Most people are around 19 or 20 these days, because there used to be a time when it was around 18. You even got 17 at one point, but it's too short. There are still companies in Japan doing it, but the Zenkennen does not like it, all right? All Japan Kendo Federation does not like it, and they've regulated against it, all right? So it's got to come to the edge of your shoulders now, pretty much, okay? So yeah, if it comes to the edge of your shoulders, that's a pretty good fit, pretty much, okay? But if in doubt, just drop us a line before you buy. Happy New Year, Sensei. Now might be a good time to reflect on various stories that senseis have told us, tales of historical kenshis, and reaffirm where we stand. With that in mind, what's your favorite Kendo anecdote from personal experience as told by a sensei or from a book? Told from a sensei. Don't really know anything that like a sensei told me like an anecdote like that. I haven't experienced that much, I'll be honest with you. Especially, you got to understand most of the senseis that I sort of interacted with. Obviously, I live in quite a rural area in the UK, so I'm like the highest grade in the area, so don't really have a sensei here. So most of the senseis that I interact with, like in that kind of sensei type relationship, are in Japan. And I don't really like most of the senseis that I've interacted with. They're not the type that tell that sort of like anecdote in a way. But if I was going to tell you a personal experience, all right, I'll tell you personal experience. Probably one of the favorite Kendo stories I have. Got loads, but I think one of my favorites is when I lived in Japan in Kyoto. Probably I'd only been there a couple of months, and I used to go to practice at the Pitokuden, which is a beautiful dojo, one of the oldest in Japan, absolutely beautiful, and they have open practice every day. But I used to go there every week on a certain day because I wanted to practice with a specific sensei, okay? Specific 8-dan sensei. And I did, and it was great. And I've been there about a month or so, I think, maybe a bit less. I didn't speak brilliant Japanese at the time. And I went there, and this, like I say, was like the third or fourth time I've been there. I went practice with the sensei. And like, it was a busy night because that sensei is popular. There's lots of other senseis there as well. Lots of people come to practice with the sensei, so quite a busy night at the dojo. So because it's so busy, like in an hour, you like, I'd be lucky if I got to practice like with 3 people. Maybe if I could 2 or 3 people, I'd try and practice with. So, and if I didn't get my men on fast, like I'd spend all night queuing just for that one sensei. So I knew I had to get my men on fast. Anyway, we finished practice, and there's this other sensei, a really old guy, little guy, comes over to me, and he's really mad. He looks real angry. And he says to me in what I couldn't understand him so well, right? But he's like really mad. He says, "Oi, you." So this is serious. So when I was, "Hey, yes, sensei," and he said, "So you come walking in here every week, stand in the queue for that sensei over there, and forget about the rest of us. Don't know who you think you are. Think you can beat us all, do you? You think you're only good enough? You think only that sensei is good enough for you? You think you're above the rest of us?" So he said. And he was mad, right? He was mad. And I was like, I didn't know what to say. He said, just because I'm small and I'm old, I'd never lose to someone like you. He said that to me. So, didn't know what to say. He said, "Next time I see your face, you better come and practice with me and I'll prove it to you." Oh no, I thought. But I said, "Onegai shimasu." I'm just sorry, sort of thing. And I left, right? And I thought to myself, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that to me. Like, I don't know what to do. I was young and cocky as well. Don't forget. Right? I was like peak Kendo Dunning-Kruger time, right? I was like, I just got my fourth dan. I was like 26, been in the WKC a couple of times. I thought I was it, right? I was like, yeah, I'm such a cool guy. I know everything. Knew nothing. Such an idiot. But I thought I was cool. Anyway. So, oh, crikey. Okay. So I want to see that guy ever again, I thought. Anyway, next week I had this keiko at this, it was at the Budokuden, but it was at the Budo Center next door. And it was like a Godo Geiko. And I went there again, and I'm like, okay, cool. And it's packed and it's rammed and there's loads of people there. And someone says to me, oh, you're supposed to be sixth dan to come to this. And I was like, oh, okay. And they're like, it's okay, no one know. Anyway, everyone's cool. Everyone's fine about it. And I saw my sensei, the sensei that I saw every week. And he said, oh, Fisher, he said, oh, did you get a promotion? It's like, no. Anyway, it's like, okay, good to see you, sort of thing. Anyway, and off he went. And I'm looking at, and then I catch across from the other side of the dojo. I see this old sensei from the week earlier. I think maybe a couple of weeks have passed. Anyway, I saw him, and he's staring at me like that. And he mouths to me, "Come on, koi." And I'm thinking to myself, right, okay, what do I do? What do I do? I got two choices. This is a big life choice. I realized at the time, thankfully, although, I was able to, despite my arrogance and ego, I was able to at least recognize at that time that I was about to make an important choice that would affect my future. All right. Even in a small way, I could run from this guy and just be like, yeah, no chance. What I could do is I could engineer it so it looked like I tried to practice with him but couldn't. Put my man on slow, go and practice with someone else, then go and join the back of his queue near the end. Ran out of time. I could have done that and just avoided him. I could have done that, or I could have sort of just bit the bullet, thrown the men on fast as I can, and practice with him. And that's what I did. That's what I decided to do. Right. And I was questioning myself. I didn't want to do it. I did not want to practice with this guy. This guy is going to try and hurt me, is what I actually was thinking. So I put my men on, leg it to him straight away, run straight over to this guy. Now, of course, I'm the first to try and practice with him because there's loads of hachidans there. This guy wasn't a hachidan. But he was senior still. But he was, the people who are fast went to get all the famous hachidans. I just ran to this guy. Onegaishimasu. He's like, oh, okay. So he takes him off and we do a keiko. And it's fine. It's fine. All right. I didn't do the good keiko. I thought I did at the time. Like I didn't know what I was doing. So I just tried to beat him up. So I didn't really know what I was on about, to be honest. But we had this keiko, and then he said he punched over whatever, and he hit me with a kaishido or whatever it was. I can't remember exactly. And then he came over and he smiled at me and said, "Oh, you're not bad." And after that, he was really nice to me. He was really nice to me, and he was helpful, and he was genuine. He was nice. He was nice. But every week I went to the Butokden. From then on, I practiced with the sensei that I went to, and then I went to practice with that guy. I made sure I practiced with him every week as well. And I'm really glad I did. I'm grateful to that sensei for teaching me a really important life lesson in humility that I didn't fully understand until some years later. I just thought he was a grumpy old man, but he wasn't. He was a wonderful sensei that taught me a lot about life. So I care about him very much, and I appreciate it. So there we go. Okay, we've been talking for half an hour and like halfway through the questions. Okay. This is a long episode. Sorry. Happy New Year, Fish Sensei. A few questions on Bogu maintenance, please. I have a 2-year-old Vanguard Sentinel. It's my pride and joy. What a great Bogu set. Good choice on the Vanguard Sentinel. It's been used 3 times a week consistently, and the member should do it touching up from removing the flaking. Okay, fair enough. Do you still recommend using enamel modeling paint for restoring the member chi? I also have an older set of kote which require maintenance on the palms to patch some small holes in the leather. Do you have any advice on doing this, please? Finally, would you ever consider creating a video on the theme of Bogu maintenance? Your videos for beginners are an amazing resource, and perhaps a demonstration of taking an older club Bogu and restoring it would be invaluable to others as well. I'd certainly find it helpful. Thank you very much, and all the best for 2025. Thank you very much. Yeah, so for repainting the member chi, any gloss, enamel, or oil-based paint will work. And when I say like oil-based paint, I don't mean like oil paints for like art. But like an enamel-based paint is good. You can get like metal paint that's like for outside metal work, like for gates and railings and stuff, that's got a gloss finish. That can be fine. But the stuff that I've seen work the best so far is like gloss enamel paint for like model aeroplanes and stuff. Another option is I've heard people use nail polish, like a black gloss nail polish. That could probably be fine as well. So yeah, and the member is always going to chip off. I mean, it's getting smacked with a shinai. So you know, what you can do if you really want to try and make it as strong as possible, get a bit of fine sandpaper, sand it down a little bit, right? So it kind of like that, you know, it kind of goes smooth. And then you could apply like a layer of primer to it, any kind of undercoat kind of paint, like a black, even if it's matte finish, and then paint the gloss paint over it, and that would make it last a little bit longer potentially. About patching the kote, I'm not an expert on this because I'm not a craftsman. All right, that's one thing I've never pursued, but obviously do know a lot about how they're made. You can patch the small holes. The best way is to get, you know, some kind of material you're going to patch it with, whether that's some kind of synthetic leather or leather, and you just obviously have to sew it to it. You'll need it's easier if you've got like a metal thimble to help you push the needle through, and a curved needle can be really useful for it, from what I understand. Having said that, it can be easier just to let keep using them until the hole is big enough to justify replacing the whole palm. But that's obviously an expensive process because it's a lot of work. Okay. And I like the idea of making a video about Bogu maintenance. I'll look into that. Right. One of the slight issues that I've got is that I don't have a lot of Bogu that's like battered, because I'm a bit like a bit funny in that. There's two things. One is I've had a thing since the day I started KendoStar. In principle, I wouldn't sell products that I didn't personally think were good, and I'm happy to use myself or have experience of using myself. Now, there's the odd thing that, of course, I haven't used. I haven't used the women's shinai, for example, or what have you, or the glasses frames, stuff like that. But they're kind of generic products, and I haven't used all the tsuba, right? But all of the Bogu sets, I've owned a set myself, and I've used it and put it to the test before putting it to market. All right, so I made sure that it's a good solid set. So it means that my turnover of Bogu is reasonably high. So I don't tend to use a lot of sets until they get battered, as it happens. But having said that, my daughter is in Japanese high school right now, and I'm sure her Bogu is getting pretty battered, to be fair. So there's a potential one that we could use as an example for that. I'll look into it. Okay, next one. Hello, Fish Sensei. I messaged a month ago a month or two ago about purchasing new and improved Vanguard Bogu sets for my youngest son. Great, a beautiful set, and while nervous, he had a great time this past week in his first training in Bogu. Fantastic, congratulations. He's the big one on the left. The kids always are bigger than us, don't they? Heard that my oldest is getting tall, nearly as tall as me as well. I'm not happy about that. Thank you, as always, for the content, instruction, and inspiration. You're more than welcome. Thank you so much for the feedback. And most of all, thank you for being part of our Kendo training as father and son. Wonderful. So it's not a question, but a beautiful sentiment. Great picture. And isn't it wonderful to practice Kendo as a family? It really is. So huge congratulations on that. And I'm really honoured to have been able to facilitate that even in a tiny way. So yeah, fantastic. I wish you the best. Hello, Mr. Fisher. I was wondering if you could offer some advice on how to score a regular door without the shinai getting stuck on the door before pulling it through, if that makes sense. I'm sure you know what I mean. I do know exactly what you mean. Secondly, what are the differences between valid ippon on door versus gyakudo? Lastly, how often is it normal for a shinai to break during keiko? I've been in Kendo 5 years and 3 months and only broken one shinai beyond repair. And someone commented it's highly unusual. I know it sounds silly, but am I doing something wrong if my shinai breaks so rarely? Am I not hitting hard enough? Thank you for your time. Okay, so yes, I know exactly what you mean about the shinai getting stuck on the door. It's something a lot of people have an issue with. So you have to make the strike, bam, and you have to make it with both hands, and it has to be solid, bam. And then there's a kind of knack to using the wrist to get the shinai past the opponent so it doesn't get stuck on there. All right, so you have to use your wrists a bit to whip the shinai round or relax them a bit, bam, this way, and then relax them so that you can get the shinai past the opponent. All right, so it means relaxing a little bit after you hit and then using your wrist to get the shinai out of there so that you don't get stuck. About the differences between valid ippon on do and gyakudo, there's no difference in principle. The criteria for all waza or all yuko datotsu are the same. Gyakudo is somewhat more difficult to receive ippon for because it's much harder to create a good opportunity for. And for any door strike, it's not just door strike, but particularly for door strikes, it becomes more obvious when whether the opportunity is a correct opportunity or not. All right, in order for it to be considered valid. All right. Yeah, it's harder to make that chance for gyakudo and then also make a good strike with good. Most people make gyakudo with poor posture, which results in a weak strike, and of course can't be considered ippon. All right. As well as hitting at a probably inopportune moment. Gyakudo is especially important to have effective seme and to produce the opportunity that is optimal for striking that side of the door. And it's usually when the person has their feet sort of planted and they try to block this way. All right. I mean, of course, there's more advanced waza like Kaishi Gyakudo and stuff like that, but that's different kettle of fish. All right, but in principle, the difference isn't really a thing. Yeah, the criteria are the same. The criteria are the same. It's just Gyakudo is a slightly harder one to, a bit like Hikido actually, to demonstrate that you've met those criteria. Okay. Or to make those criteria align, I should probably say. And about your shinai breaking, if you've done Kendo for 5 years and only broken one shinai, I would say the probability is that you're hitting too light, and it is a question of technique rather than muscular strength. Okay, so you're not using your wrists properly to transmit power to the shinai. Or you're not using, in combination with that, your left leg and your hips to transfer your body weight to the shinai at the moment of impact. Okay. You shouldn't break shinai often. Obviously, shinai are natural things. Sometimes we all have the situation where, you know, you get a shinai and it breaks in 1 or 2 practices. Sometimes that happens. It can't be helped because it's a natural product. But for the most part, for me, I don't break shinai so much. Of course, it depends on some other stuff as well, like climate and what have you. But for me, I think I break one shinai every 6 months or so. Sometimes a bit sooner, sometimes a bit later. I broke a shinai recently. I think I'd had it about 4 months. Is the most recent one I broke I'd had for about 4 months. But I'd used it quite a lot, to be honest. And it was a shinai I was using for quite intensive keiko for the purposes of like doing lots of kirikomi, uchikomi, that sort of thing. So yeah, that's what I'd say on that. Okay, we're nearly there. We've got a couple left. Okay, Happy New Year. Wishing you all the best for this year ahead. My Kiai tires me out more than anything else. Do you have any tips for dialing it back whilst maintaining a powerful key, whether it be pitch or volume? As a side note, do you have any tips for keeping one pair of kote dry for asageko the next day, or is it murida? Thank you, Sensei. Okay, so right, so people talk a lot about the kiai, or the shout, like coming from the diaphragm or from the lower, the abdomen, stuff like that. And of course that's true. It doesn't want to just come from your throat like this. All right. But there is a technique to it that you will get where you can project your voice loudly whilst not just shouting from your breath, going like this, and that's going to tire you out. All right. So it's practice. It's really about practice. It's going to come to you, but you're going to need to practice it more, rather than there being a sort of a tip, all right, for, oh, well, just do this. It won't work like that, okay? And about keeping your kote dry for asageko the day after, you mean if you use if you do keiko like in the afternoon, and then the next morning you want to use the same kote for asageko, they're going to be wet. That's highly likely. The things you could do, you could put like drying materials in there, or like you could use put a fan on them or something like that. That could help. But I'll be honest with you, I don't recommend it. If you're going to practice like 2 days in a row, you need more than one set of kote. Absolutely. All right. And they need to be rotated, or you're going to damage the kote, to be honest. Okay. If it's a regular thing. Okay, Happy New Year, Sensei. One of my sensei has said, and I think I even remember you saying one of your sensei said the same thing, that until 5th dan, you should basically just attack men. Now, I know that's being a little extreme and it's more of an ideal concept than reality. My question, though, is how do you balance that concept at lower dan levels with showing you can do more than attack men in grading? I've been focusing on striking men intensely for basically my entire Kendo journey so far, and while I'm perfectly proficient at other strikes, they aren't as natural. In grading, I've always had to think, okay, you need to show a kote or a kote men, whereas my men strike seems to be more in the flow of when the opportunity strikes. This hasn't caused any issues for me, but I was curious on your thoughts. Thanks. Okay, that's good. No problem. Happy New Year to you as well. Right, so my stance on this, and it does come from something that I heard a sensei say, is that it's not so much that you should just attack men, but until 5th dan, it's a good idea to focus mainly on shikake waza, all right? It's not that you don't ever do oji waza, all right? But shikake waza is more important, okay? Now, that's not for people who are highly competitive, of course. You know, if you're a national team player, or like obviously Japanese high school kids have to be able to do oji waza and they're like 2nd dan or 3rd dan, all right? But what I'm talking about is in terms of Kendo development, and especially if you practice with someone senior to you, you should focus on shikake waza as much as possible, okay? But like not to the point where like you're just doing that. Of course, you should practice the other stuff so that you can become well-rounded. No one wants to get to 5th dan and then not be able to do any other waza because they haven't practiced it, okay? It's just a concept. And it's in the idea is that, and especially with men, if you are able to attack men and have the confidence in your men strike, other doors will open. Okay, so other opportunities will become available, and that's when you will be able to perform strikes like kote or oji waza. All right, so that's the only thing I'm saying about that. All right, and it's focus, not commit to only doing. If that makes sense, do you know what I mean? So yeah, because I mean, if I'm sat on a 2nd dan panel, the person that is only showing men, it doesn't look great, right? Now, of course, it depends on the context, but I want to see that they know more than just that, to be honest. So yeah, that's what I'd say. Hope that's clear. Last one. Okay, so Happy New Year, Sensei. I was wondering if you could explain kirikomi in the context of the screenshot. Let me see if I can get the screenshot so we can look at that together right now. Just bear with me. Let's have a look. It is a screenshot, and I don't know this document. I had a quick squiz at it. I don't know if you say that in other parts of the world. In the UK, that means I had a quick look at it. All right. And it is a document called Rational Method of Handling Sword and Shinai. Kendo study from site Hakudo. Is that right? Okay. So this whole document about how the sort of mechanics of swinging the shinai by the looks of it. In terms of what it's talking about, it says, therefore, when speaking the meuchi as kendo, right foot must be on the floor at the same time target men is struck, and left foot must be pulled in next to the right foot at the same time as of kirikomi, charging to cut. Okay, so I believe, now let me preface this, right? I haven't seen this document before. All right, I don't know anything about the author. But having a quick look at the other thing, it talks a lot about the concept of ude shido and koshi shido, which is like beginning the movement with your arms or beginning with your hips. And obviously the koshi shido, beginning with your hips, is the preferable option. What I believe we're talking about in the terms of kirikomi is the idea of hitting and sort of everything going into the cut, if you know what I mean, like your body with your body into the cut this way, rather than just like this. Okay, so what it's saying is that's why it says charging to the cut. So your fumikomi is here. Your fumikiri is the launch. The kirikomi is the kind of push through, the drive through after the moment of actually striking, which is why the left foot must pull in so that you can kirikomi sort of push through. If that makes sense. All right, is what I understand that term to be. Now, it's not an official term I've ever heard. It's not in any of the teaching books I've seen. It's not something I've heard talked about so much in teaching, but I understand that to be the concept of it. Now, I hope that's what it is. All right. And I think that will probably make a little bit more sense in regards to the rest of the document. All right. But that's my understanding of what that is, what is being referred to in that section of the document. Okay. And there we go. We're at the end of the questions. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me today. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, shop at KendoStar. Thank you, everyone, for the questions, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.